Welcome, everyone. Today, we bring you another chilling true crime story. One that is real, disturbing, and impossible to forget. Every detail matters, and every moment leads closer to the truth. So stay connected with us till the end, because this story will change the way you see crime forever. December 30th began like any other winter morning in Columbus, Ohio, quiet, cold, and ordinary. But by mid-morning, concern began to spread when Dr. Spencer Tepe failed to arrive at his dental clinic. He was known to be punctual, meticulous with his schedule, and deeply committed to his patients. When calls to his phone went unanswered and messages remained unread, co-workers contacted authorities, fearing something was wrong. Police arrived at the Tepe residence shortly before 10 a.m. From the outside, nothing appeared disturbed. Doors were intact. Windows showed no signs of damage. There were no broken locks, no shattered glass, no indication of a forced entry. Yet once officers stepped inside, the calm exterior gave way to a devastating scene. In the bedroom, Spencer Tepe, 37, and his wife Monique Tepe, 39, were found dead from gunshot wounds. The crime scene suggested violence, but not chaos. It appeared controlled, deliberate. Investigators quickly noted something chilling. Their young children were still inside the home, alive and unharmed, unaware that their parents' lives had been taken just hours earlier. The absence of forced entry immediately shifted the investigation's direction. This was unlikely to be a random burglary or street crime. Whoever entered the home had likely been allowed inside, or had access without resistance. That single detail would become one of the most important elements of the case. As the news spread, the community reacted with disbelief. A respected dentist and his wife, murdered in their own home, while their children slept nearby. It was the kind of crime that shattered any sense of safety. Residents locked their doors tighter that night, asking the same haunting question: who could do this, and why? Authorities remained tight-lipped in the first hours. They confirmed the deaths and stated the investigation was active. No suspect was named. No motive suggested. But behind the scenes, detectives already suspected this was not a crime of opportunity. This was something else entirely. Something personal. Investigators began reconstructing the hours leading up to the murders. Based on forensic evidence and preliminary analysis, police believed the killings occurred sometime between 2 o'clock and 5 a.m., likely closer to 4 a.m. That narrow window became the focus of intense scrutiny. Detectives canvassed the neighborhood, collecting surveillance footage from doorbell cameras, security systems, and nearby businesses. One particular clip stood out. It showed a lone figure wearing dark clothing and a hood moving through an alley near the Tepe home during the critical time frame. The footage was grainy. The face was not visible. But the timing was precise and troubling. Further analysis revealed something else. A vehicle appeared in the area shortly before the estimated time of death and left soon after. Investigators tracked the vehicle's movement through multiple cameras across the neighborhood. The trail didn't end in Columbus. It stretched hundreds of miles away. Using license plate data, traffic cameras, and digital mapping tools, detectives followed the vehicle's path from Ohio to Illinois. Eventually, it led them to Rockford. There, the vehicle was located, and linked to a man with a direct connection to one of the victims. His name was Michael David McCoo. Michael McCoo was not a stranger to Monique Tepe. He was her former husband. The two had married in 2015 and divorced just 2 years later. Court documents described the separation as amicable, citing incompatibility rather than abuse or misconduct. On paper, there was nothing unusual. No restraining orders. No criminal complaints. No formal allegations. After the divorce, McCoo moved frequently, eventually settling in Illinois, where he worked as a vascular surgeon. He held a valid medical license and had no criminal history. To those who knew him casually, he appeared ordinary, quiet, professional, unremarkable. Yet as investigators dug deeper, a different picture began to form. Friends and family of Monique later described her past marriage as deeply troubling. Though she rarely spoke publicly about it, those close to her said she referred to that period of her life with pain and fear. She avoided using her ex-husband's name, often calling him simply "my ex." These accounts were informal, personal, not official complaints. But they raised questions investigators could not ignore. When police arrested McCoo in Illinois, he did not resist. He waived his right to fight extradition and agreed to return to Ohio. His attorney stated that he intended to plead not guilty to all charges. But by then, prosecutors had already escalated the case. Authorities charged Michael McCoo with 2 counts of aggravated murder. Under Ohio law, this meant prosecutors believed the killings were carried out with prior calculation and design. In other words, premeditation. That decision alone suggested investigators believed this was not a spontaneous act of rage. During a press conference, police revealed that multiple firearms had been recovered from Muck's property. They also stated that forensic testing had identified a preliminary link between one of those weapons and the homicides. They did not confirm whether the murder weapon had been conclusively identified, but the implication was clear. This revelation intensified public attention. The case was no longer just tragic, it was strategic. Investigators now believed the murders were targeted and related to domestic history. Still, many questions remained unanswered. Why now? Why after nearly a decade of separation? What had triggered such an extreme act? As the investigation continued, authorities turned to digital evidence. Phone records, location data, text messages, emails, and online activity all became critical. Detectives examined Muck's phone movements to determine how long he had been in Columbus and whether he had visited the area before the night of the murders. They searched for signs of surveillance, planning, or communication with the victims. They also reviewed internet search histories, financial records, and employment stressors. Around this time, reports surfaced that McCoo had been named in a medical malpractice lawsuit months earlier, a case involving an alleged surgical error. According to public filings, attempts to serve legal documents had been unsuccessful. Co-workers reportedly said McCoo had become difficult to locate. Prosecutors did not publicly link the lawsuit to the murders, but the timing raised speculation about mounting pressure in Muck's life. One detail continued to haunt investigators: the lack of forced entry. From a legal standpoint, this fact favored the prosecution. It suggested the victims may have known their killer, or at least did not perceive an immediate threat when the door opened. This raised difficult possibilities. Was there a conversation before the violence? Was there hesitation? Or did familiarity create a fatal moment of vulnerability? Forensic evidence could not answer those questions. Only reconstruction and motive could. Reports indicated Spencer Tepe suffered multiple gunshot wounds, while Monique was shot at least once in the chest. While not definitive proof of motive, prosecutors believed the injuries suggested intent to kill both victims. Whether one attempted to intervene, or whether both were targeted equally, remained unknown. But investigators believed the pattern supported deliberate action, not panic. Legal experts noted the case would likely rely heavily on circumstantial evidence. Surveillance footage, vehicle tracking, firearm ownership, digital data. No eyewitnesses, no public confession, no clear forensic link announced, yet. But when layered together, prosecutors believed the evidence formed a compelling narrative. As McCoo awaited transfer to Ohio, attention turned to what would happen next. A grand jury review, possible indictments, discovery motions, expert testimony. For the Tepe family, justice would not come quickly. For their children, life would never be the same. Until a jury hears the evidence, Michael McCoo remains innocent under the law. But the case has already left a mark on a family, a profession, and a nation watching closely. 2 lives lost. One past that refused to stay buried. And a silence that still echoes.